just going to pick one or two examples to give you a flavour of how, at the moment, the main political parties are responding to that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to rattle through. So to start with, what we just want to talk about the four key UK policies. I'm just going to dwell on this slide and I'm going to go through the next very fast. There's a low carbon industrial strategy, which is all about how government is going to support future development of the UK's low carbon technology and services sector. And this is about maximising the economic benefit from policies related to low carbon. The low carbon transition plan actually sets out the first 3 5-yearly budgets that come under the Climate Change Act and enable us to reach the 34%. People will be aware that we actually did put on the table briefly our 42% if there'd been an agreement in Copenhagen. We've taken it back off the table. I would suspect it might well go back on the table at a future date, so it's worth being aware of that. So all the targets I'm going to talk about today relate to 34% on 1990 levels by 2020. There's a low carbon transport strategy, which I'll later summarise very, very quickly, but it's quite important that we're now actually looking at transport, which is about 1/3 of the carbon emissions from our economy, and a renewable energy strategy, which is probably one most familiar to people, which is all about how we drive renewables in our sector. So that's the wasn't pointing that around that, was I? There we are. Okay, let's just run through each of these. I think what I want to say about low carbon industrial strategy is it does set out very clearly the sectors where there's going to be preferential investment. So from a business point of view, a manufacturing point of view, and those kind of sectors, this is very important. It's important to look at what's on that list and see whether or not you're going to be playing a part. And if you're going to get benefits from the attention towards our decarbonisation of the economy, those will be the areas to go for. We then look at the way the money's gone. I think there's a clear message here. This is the 405 billion, which is now pretty well all being bespoke, and really it's in 3 tranches. There's almost half going for offshore energy, those first 2 items, for offshore wind and for wave and tidal power, 180 million. You've got the UK Innovation Investment Fund, which is designed to build up to $1 billion in 10 years' time, with both private sector money using public sector money to seed corp. That's got off to a pretty slow start, it has to be said, at the moment. And then there's a host of other bits and pieces, significant, but as you can see, the sums are relatively not very large. It sounds quite a lot of money, but on a comparative basis, this is pretty small beer compared with, for example, what the Americans are doing. If you look at the low carbon transition plan, look at the details there, that just sort of sets out the milestones, 22%, 28%, 34%. I think what's key about that is you can see the acceleration that's expected right now. And really the main policies that are in there about actually how we develop that. And of course, when you're familiar with the carbon reduction commitment, which is one of the carbon reduction commitment energy efficiency scheme, which is one of the ones that have been brought in. I think it's a good example of the kind of thing that Aldersgate gets involved in, which is trying to unravel that into much more holistic policy rather than there being lots and lots of individual schemes wrapped up in different parts of government with very, very laudable aims, but which actually don't really connect together terribly well. What I do want to do is summarise what the impact of all of those changes are, and that is the fact that if you look at this diagram, look at our 2050 target, you'll see there that what we have to do is we have to do far more than decarbonise our electricity generation. We're to hit those targets, get down 159 from the 6559. We've actually got to hit every segment of the economy. And that is something I don't think has been realised by a lot of investors and businesses yet. It's just how deep these changes will be. The argument, of course, at the moment is how fast will they be. And what that might look like is a sort of deck diagram, which just sort of lists various things. Apart from the striking number of bicycles, it does actually tell you a few more useful things about where the government's in the key areas to operate. That includes nuclear power, includes carbon capture and storage, for example, which are the big capital ones. So if we look at the low carbon transition plan, then I think the business drivers that come out are around this capturing the jobs, and we are extremely poor at that historically. We have been very good at boosting Danish and German share prices by announcing big campaigns on renewables. We're very good at actually exporting our manufacturing out to China and emerging areas, and the aim now is to actually try and capture a bit more of that, so that we do go into nuclear, that we actually don't end up just buying a lot of French and American expertise, and we just have a lot of people who hold this together. And the same applies throughout. But you can't avoid the fact that the business drivers are just dominated by renewables. So I say renewables. In terms of total energy, we're only at 1.8, creeping up to 2% of our total energy. That's not electricity, that's total energy use in terms of the UK from renewables. We've got to get 15% in 2 years, and that's about an 8-fold increase. And that's quite fast pace. So that's where the opportunity is going to be. But there's various other ones listed there as well. And the last of the four, the carbon transport policy, I think there's lots of detail in that, that's fine. I draw attention to the fact that there is a strategy due quite soon. Whether it will come out before the election is interesting. The Department of Transport wants to do that, all the donors want to do that, but whether it will get there, I'm not quite sure at the moment. In terms of delivering milestones and monitoring. And there's also going to be more stuff on biofuels coming out with the National Action Plan. That will get delayed by the election, but will come out in the summer. But really, the low carbon transport strategy is use more electricity. So all it's going to do is it's going to create even more demand. So all of the calculations made in terms of the amount of renewables in terms of electricity supply is based on sort of business as usual, but actually the effect of transport policy, when you work it in, is actually going to have a much bigger increase in demand for electricity because we're going to be moving to electric vehicles, more trains, trams and other systems which are going to use electricity, which is going to have to meet the targets in terms of the proportion of renewables in it. So we look at the renewable energy strategy, the main point I want to make is you do need to be aware that these are being written in parallel and therefore actually don't connect up with some of the feedback loops that there are within them. I think within the current audience that's there, you know, as a reference point for you, but again, looking at the other way, you've got 31% electricity to be generated from renewables by 2020 to get there. So that's quite a long way. In fact, I think probably where you can see you've got the 31% compared with 5.5, 5.6 today. So again, even there, you're looking at sort of sixfold. I would argue that by the time we get to 2020, because of the low carbon transport policy in particular, you'll actually need to have even more renewables to achieve that percentage than the government is predicting. But it also assumes 12% coming from heat and 10% of transport energy from renewables. So, you know, you've got 10% in there from transport, but actually I think it'll need to go further than that to meet their targets. So within that, there's some key policies which are around financial support, delivery support and energy sources. So let's just have a look at those. You've got the renewables obligation, which is being extended and expanded, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. You've got the feed-in tariffs, which I'm going to just talk about in a bit more detail, renewable heat incentive. Those are really the three financial support mechanisms that are coming up. And you've also got these other things in terms of the Infrastructure Planning Commission trying to speed up planning systems, stronger renewables industry supply chain, so we actually make more of the stuff here and create some jobs, working out how to get sustainable bioenergy. We've really didn't start off too well on biofuels and palm oil and the like, and trying to get that into a more sustainable position. And in terms of the sources, I think you're going to see very early on in the next Parliament a decision on the second tidal power scheme on the way ahead there, and you're going to have this ongoing investment going on. So just on the renewable, the three key ones, renewable obligation, feed-in tariffs, renewable heat incentives, a little bit more on that. So key things really here is the extension and expansion of it. It's extended beyond the current end date of 2027 until 2037 for new projects and giving security that this particular mechanism, you like it or loathe it, it's going to be with us and we're going to have to work with it. A mechanism to limit the period of renewable obligation support per project for 20 years, so you have a 20-year lifetime of support. Removal of the maximum obligation level of 20%, so there's no ceiling anymore, which was causing a bit of a glass ceiling. The review of banding is to be completed by 2013. But it can be earlier if necessary, and they're already moving on offshore because that's not going to help the offshore industry to get going unless they're clear about that. And review ways to maintain prices. And if we look at the feed-in tariff, this is the one that's coming in very soon, so it's coming in next month. We're 27 days ago or something. This is really to support proven technologies, and it relates to installations up to 5 megawatt. Between 5 megawatt and 50 kilowatt, you have an interesting decision to make as to their renewable obligation on feed-in tariff, and that is going to depend circumstance and technology by technology. If you're below that, if you're at the small scale, which is what the feed-in tariff is particularly aimed at, we're really copying Germany 10 years later here, and you know, we can learn from them because they've had some difficulties. They've also had some success. You know, it is surprising that Germany's been able to create one of the main centres of PV technology through its feed-in tariff system. And the tariff levels are designed to give a rate of return on investment of 5 to 6%, which certainly in Aldersgate Group is nowhere near enough. If you look at Germany, more than 10% of the high risk starting up. As the market matures, that may well be acceptable to investors, but it certainly isn't at the moment. So quite a lot of tension around exactly where those tariffs are set. And then the renewable heat incentive, we've got a bit more time to get our heads around. That's a year on, it's going to be April 2011, and that's around incentive payments to generators and producers. And it's to try and pick up some of the experience, particularly Scandinavia and some other countries where we have a significant amount of district heating and other heating supplied for combined heat power, tri-generation and quad-generation schemes. I have to say that my experience of that is the thing we've got to sort out is much more planning and the joined up government side, because it's extremely hard to actually get district heating schemes even between two public sector buildings, for example, two facing across the road, where we were unable to get them connected up into one scheme because they're different departments, and there was going to be all sorts of arguments about who was responsible for what. Not a good sign, really. a little bit on skills. Yeah, a little bit on skills. That's really just to say that there's going to be quite an important BIS consultation that's going to come out for the elections and the meeting last week. That's definitely going to happen, which will be quite an interesting one. It's the first time we've had a decent document on skills about how we're actually going to get the kind of people we need to drive those industries. And it doesn't take a genius to spot the fact that we need a lot of engineers and we need a lot of scientists, and we're actually very good at churning those out at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of attention on that, and I'm hoping that will change education policy. So let's just have a look at where we are in terms of the elections. I hope keeping up here. We've got another 10 minutes to go, I'm afraid. In terms of the drivers, I don't think these are party political, and I think they're going to remain post-election. So let's just sort of think, well, why? That's a very sweeping statement, not entirely accurate, but it's broadly the trend. Why do I think that's the case? Well, I think it's worth just going back to why we're into all these low-carbon policies, where they come from. Well, the starting point that I see really is with the Stern report back in November 2007. And the fundamental thing about that, just as a reminder, is that it's going to reach about 5% per annum of gross domestic product to actually supply or to balance the costs of climate change if we don't act, if we carry on business as usual. As a result of that, there was a commission set up, which I was fortunate enough to be on, pretty obscure, but nevertheless, Commission on Environmental Markets and Economic Performance, quite well known within government circles, totally unknown outside, which is where the concept of building a low-carbon economy came. That was a response to that commission in June 2008. 2008, the other milestone, I think, was the extremely good work done by the World Wildlife Fund, Living Planet Report, whether you're familiar with that. This is the one where all those phrases about, we need more wild planet come from. That was where the real decent work was done to show that we were using about 30% more on a sustainable basis in place at the moment. So we are on borrowed time. And then basically government started getting it, and one of course the key economies in the world is the US economy, and with the Obama administration coming in, suddenly huge investment. And you remember I was talking about 405 million over the last year that was invested through to March this year. There's about $150 billion. That's the sort of scale at which they're climbing in. And suddenly all sorts of things are coming out of the woodwork that these states have been doing that haven't really shouted about because in the Bush administration it wasn't the done thing to do so. So for example, just to give one example, there's one military base has gone into a low carbon procurement process. It has purchased more electric vehicles than we have ever sold in the UK year to date. It purchased it for one base, and they're replicating that around. So they can create markets beyond our wildest dreams if they want to. And whilst COP15 was a bit of a cop-out, it nevertheless, for me, makes it clear that international carbon trading by 2012 will be a certainty. International trading. So we haven't actually got the chance to go separately on the UK. So again, step back. Why is a new government, whatever flavour, whatever colour, whatever mixture, why is it not going to have much room? It's really about the world situation. It's worth just reminding a few things to the simple maths here. This is the projections for the global population, moving from just over 6 billion in 2000 up to about 9 billion. You can see the level of uncertainty in that, so there's quite a lot around there. You look then at the concept of the 2-degree limit or the argument whether it's 550 or 450 parts per million. Look at that trajectory, and look at also where the developed countries are. But the stabilisation levels by the end of the century mean that we have to have the whole world working on much the same emissions as the developed countries now. and look at the size of those developing countries. Right, here's a good one. I don't know whether anyone's seen any of this work. My favourite diagram. This was Cambridge University, massive research project, and I managed to boil it down to 2 slides. What this does is there's lots of things. Have fun having a look at this later, but it's basically a Sankey diagram of global energy demand. It's never actually been done, as far as I'm aware, to actually get this on a global scale. And it shows the 27 gigatons that we're emitting as society. It shows where that comes from the oil, gas, and coal we're using. Here's renewables, that's how big it is there. And we've got biomass, which is interesting about the size of that. And it shows what we end up using those for, and all things that are in between. What's just fallen off the bottom there is the fact that the total global energy demand is 475 exajoules. As I said, there's a billion as an exa, 10 to the 18. Okay, it doesn't really matter, 475 of them. Now, I'm hoping that people haven't seen this. It's be interesting to know, on the next one, I actually show how much of that energy we use. Now, we all know with thermodynamics that we don't get. But any guesses, if it's 475 of these exajoules that we use, how much do you want to shout out a number and think how much we use for it? I know you've got it on your crib sheet, but I think it's too small to read or something. I give you credit, best audience, I'll try that out for you, or the nearest, but no, practically even worse than that. It's 55, it's 12%. Our global energy efficiency at the moment is running at 12%. First time that's been calculated, 55 exajoules. And why I put that up, it's really just a reminder that while we're talking about this demand for energy, this decarbonisation of energy, actually don't forget the basics. Energy efficiency has got enormous potential. Even with the laws of thermodynamics, no reason why we can't get that to 30%. If we got that to 30%, then that would be 2.5 times less energy that we will need. So, we do need to pay attention to that. Then, just from those, do the maths. Currently, we're emitting 6 tonnes per annum of carbon dioxide per capita. That's taking the 27 by the. Okay. In the EU, the average is 8. In the UK, the average is 12 tonnes per capita. Long-term stability requires about 1 tonne per capita for the 9 billion population that's predicted. So that means 8-fold change in the EU, it means 12-fold in the UK. At the moment, our mandatory targets at 80%. People think they're some of the strongest mandatory targets there are. It's only 5-fold. So I would argue that against that background, how is a government going to be able to have sensible international policy if it's saying 5 isn't enough? Now, I've been to a number of other countries, and they're at different stages, and some of them are still arguing about whether they should be doing anything at all. But I think over the next few years, it's going to be necessary, just from an international relations point of view, to be able to come up with the kind of measures we've got. Last few minutes, just on Aldersgate Group, which was mentioned, which I share, which is an interesting organisation, founded in 2006. It's a bit of a think tank, broad coalition of businesses, NGOs, professional bodies, political figures, government agencies. Very key objective, which is actually for us to find consensus amongst all this broad church that we have within us, and then put those ideas and policies to government, leaving them with nowhere to run, because we've already covered off the opposition in its broadest sense, whether that be an industry lobby or it be a NGO lobby or a political lobby. And we basically have one fundamental thing, which is high environmental standards are vital for future economic growth and competitiveness for the UK. And what we aim to do is really raise awareness in the UK and Europe of the benefits of high environmental standards. I was mentioning this morning to someone, one of the sort of completely unknown, but one of the better sort of lobbying successes we've had is that there's now a requirement to use a figure around £56 per tonne in government policy appraisals. That's not a political thing, that will be used for the civil servants, whatever government we have. If that had been applied to the third runway, it would never have seen the light of day, and that is now pretty well an irrevocable decision to run with that. And that shows you the kind of price that the policymakers think should be out there in the market. We all know what the carbon price is at the moment, and it's way, way short of that. So that's the kind of thing that we do, building those coalitions. What kind of things have we been up to? 3 reports have come out in the last 6 months as part of the build-up to a major report we're doing next month, yes, it's now March, so it'll be April, on the transition policies needed to get into the low-carbon future, and that big report will be designed to be aimed at the future government, so we can jump on them on day 2, or give them 1 day to get their heads around what they're doing. These kind of things. One on finance, one on skills, and one on resource efficiency, which we picked as a group as the 3 things that perhaps So I'm just going to pick lastly on a few recommendations. I'll still go right now. I think I've got 2 minutes to go. Finance recommendations, policy risks really are critical here. I mean, it was a remarkable exercise. We hosted some roundtables in the city. You realise that the City of London is very far from Westminster, but boy, it's a long way in terms of getting communication running. Tremendous appetite within the private sector to get good investment in this area, but at the moment, too much policy uncertainty to allow that to come, and trying to actually get to talking to someone to work that out. And one of the things that came out of that was the idea of climate bonds or something that create green investment vehicles to mobilise that private capital at scale, particularly at scale for things that we need to do on energy efficiency. It's very difficult for, say, an institution or a traditional capital investor to invest in something like energy efficiency, which actually involves people knocking on doors and putting a few hundred quid worth of insulation in each home. How do you actually get to scale? How do you actually get that running? Do we need to see rather like the change to the infamously described high-speed gas after the old dirty can coal gas? We need something like that. The other was a green investment bank. So we put that out. We had discussions. Government, what's been happening in the last couple of months with us? Just give an example. And that's the kind of responses we've had. The opposition came back almost immediately. Conservatives said, actually, we're interested in this. They talked about a green ISA, green savings vehicle. They talked about a green investment bank. So I think there's going to be something in that direction. But at the same time, government created Infrastructure UK, which brought together the private finance initiative group, the infrastructure fund, and also the people on deck schemes, and the full scheme of the former chair of Rio Tinto, so he's got good experience in terms of putting together big capital projects. They put €100 million into the European Investment Bank, and we've had a lot of discussions around this new investment bank. So basically, both the main political parties are recognising value in doing that. Happy to talk more about that. People are interested. And I don't think that's what our government have that's a direction. So, that's a result for us. We've got both sides saying we're going to do it differently, but fundamentally going to be doing much the same thing. A little temper there is, my question is, now since we own most of them now, could we use the existing portfolios in RBS and HSBC to seek all the renewables development funds? Actually, there's some pretty good teams within RBS and HSBC. I don't know everyone's here from there, but they could provide that. And since we own them, why can't we tell them to do that? That'd be good. So in conclusion, the drivers for a low-carbon businesses are driven really by imperatives that are beyond the UK government. We are, it's a bit of a banal comment, but we are all on the same planet. We are actually dealing here with a global issue. We've got different views on going things forward, but whether it's China, whether it's Europe, whether it's the US, for us. The other thing is that we need a lot of structural reform here, but we're also entering a period where we're going to have public money under great scrutiny. So if we're going to have that kind of pressure, structural reform is actually ironically easier because there are always efficiencies to be had from that, and that will increase the pace of change. So I believe the election isn't going to be fought on this area. The election is actually going to be on the traditional safe grounds of education, health, and law and order and these sort of things. And whilst there will be side events and things, you will see only a difference in style, not in content. So I think you can be assured that investment in terms of low carbon technologies is not going to be an unwise thing to do, which will get unravelled just because we've got an election coming up. And I think the two last things that are driving low carbon policy implementation are increasingly going to become job and resource security. We're going to be much more clever and interested in making sure that we create jobs here from our policies, and we'll be working hard to make that happen. And I think you'll begin to see other issues of resource security. Ironically, I don't think it's going to be the peak oil and all that side which is going to first impact on that. It's going to be some of the other material resources, some of the rare earth metals and things that we need for the wretched things that we all carry around so long now. Those sort of things are going to become quite critical, and that's going to cause people to think, is it wise? And my last passing fact is that last year we exported, I can't remember how many tons, but 60 million quid we exported a load of scrap steel. We actually imported exactly the same amount of steel for £60 billion. Now why on earth are we doing that? Why aren't we actually closing that loop and actually making whatever it was we wanted out of steel in our own country with our own people with the steel that we were scrapping? So there's plenty of opportunity, I think, to close the loop in that area. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.